What's up, fish peeps? We're still without power. And we're expected to be without power till about midnight is what we're hearing. That's going to be like 10 hours. That's a long time. Now, the nitrifying bacteria that lives in our filtering systems, in our aquariums, all the stuff that does all the magic to make everything good, a lot of that bacteria is going to be in trouble. So there's things that we can do. Now, if you have a whole home generator, that solves all your problems. You basically divert the power to the things that the most important things that you need in your house, your furnace, your fridges, your those sort of things, your aquariums, things that are really, really important. But when it comes to the fish tanks, I'm going to show you some of the things that I do on the particular tanks that I deal with, things that I can keep and help. Let's take a peek. Now the power went off about 5 o'clock. Doesn't affect many animals, but it gives you a chance to see the lizards. Some of the geckos who never come out in the daylight, they come out at night. And I caught one off guard when I was out here. But all the spiders and all the bugs, everything else, it doesn't affect them whatsoever. Nothing's going to happen. Unless there was anything that was very, very temperature sensitive, that required supplemental heat. Well, that would slowly, gradually decline, and only if it was off for long, long periods of time or any other issues or sort of things. But even here, we have a very insulated home. And we don't open our fridges, and obviously we're not cooking or doing any of those type of things. Everything should be fine, even if it's for 10, 12 hours. However, when it does come to the fish tanks, nothing's happening. No water's running, right? So nothing's happening there. No water's running there. Air pump's not running. That means the Hamburg mat filters aren't running in there. And nothing happening there. So what is Big's going to do? Well, when it comes to the Hamburg mat filters, they are massive biological sinks. Huge, huge biological sinks. However, also the fish that I have within those tanks are all killifish. So they're used to living in and you can see some of them out right there. They're used to living in areas where they wouldn't really have to deal with anything, any sort of problems, any sort of development of water parameters or something. And in this tank, I have some small anabantoids. So other than that, once the power comes back on tomorrow, I'll go and do some nice water changes on those tanks. And other than that, they'll be fine. When it comes to the two main tanks, what I can do for the two main tanks, and I'm kind of fortunate, is the style of filters I've shown you before are these open style, homemade DIY trickle filters. Well, the nice thing about this type of media is it only needs to stay wet. So you see it's still wet inside the filter media. All I have to do is maybe come down here once an hour and take some water from the tank, pour it in the filter, it disperses itself over the drip tray, drips through, and that'll oxygenate the tank as well. The more frequently, the better. But that'll keep that filter system living entirely without issue. So you can see I'm just going to take some water from the tank and disperse it on the filter. The drip plate will move the water where it needs to be, the same way as if the pump was running. And again, as long as that media stays nice and damp, everything's going to be good. Now, the other thing, if you don't have a whole home generator, even a small generator, just run a few tanks, you can use these incredible devices. So you can see all the fish kind of wondering what's going on. It's pitch black except for the fact that I'm wearing a headlamp. So all the fish are doing fine, and I've just added an air stone. Well, how am I running an air stone? Well, I'm using my Cobalt Rescue Air. It is a small, little, battery-operated air pump. And it's not just a battery-operated air pump. It's an incredible little air pump. I can turn it to where it does in pulses in 10 seconds, or I can have it running continuously. For the purpose of my purpose, it's not really going to matter. But you can turn it off, you can turn it on. It's got 3/4 of the power. It's It's been running for over an hour. So now I've put it on to where it just pulses every 10 seconds. It'll run for 10 seconds, then it'll stop, wait 10 seconds, and then it'll start again. The nicest thing about this pump is not only does the pump come with all the equipment and all the charging stuff, but it comes with another portable USB that is also fully chargeable. And this fully chargeable USB will also battery back up that pump. So not only once I run out of power in that, I have another entire fuel cell ready to go for this pump. Truly a valuable thing for in the case that you have one of the situations where the power goes out for a little while. Lights won't be a factor, but long-term exposure without oxygen can definitely be a factor, meaning life or death for the fish. So hopefully those help you guys out a little bit. We'll see you once the lights are back on.
So the power's come back on, there's no issues whatsoever. But understanding the basic principles of the style of filtering system that you have, understanding how those biologicals are so critical, they are the life support systems that maintain your aquarium and the health of your aquarium fish. Depending on the type of filtration that you're using, all filters are slightly different. Now, most filters are generally filled with water. Water molecules then occupy most of the usable space. So be it you have an over the back style filtering system, box filter type, a sponge filter, Hamburg mat filters, canister filters. As mentioned, these are all filled with water. However, my DIY wet-dry filters, one of the reasons I love them so much is there's almost 100% oxygen saturation because the media is not submerged underwater. So it's a little bit easier for me to deal with a situation such as this by simply pouring water over the media to keep the biologicals alive. When it comes to the other styles of filters, when you are in the situation with a power failure for an extended period of time, maybe that is a good time if you have the ability using a headlamp or something to be able to go and wash the media, clean the media out and remove as much of that bulk detritus that offers nothing to the environment. This will help that when the power does come back on, that you're best in your best situation. Make sure if you're in a municipal area, make sure you're using not water mains, you're using aquarium water so that the biologicals are not going to be killed off using chlorinated water. The one other concern that most people generally are going to fear as well during a power failure is the loss of temperature. However, almost all fish are going to go through some form of a somewhat seasonal change. Outside in the wild, the weather is not a constant all the time, and water, the larger the volume of water, will act as a heat sink, and the temperature will very gradually decrease. So almost every aquarium fish, even the most sensitive, will tolerate a power failure for a long period of time, as long as the temperatures don't drop beyond their threshold. So hopefully some of these tips helped you guys out, and that will give you guys the ability to weather the storm a little bit better. Thank you for watching, my friends. Take care.